Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good evening, friends. I am Dr. Neepa Vyas, here to discuss a topic of environmental law. Today's topic is conceptual aspects relating to environmental law. Dear friends, to start with the subject, I would like to first discuss about some international provision which are the basis for today's topic. Dear friends, some international platforms has declared that some minimum basic rights which are necessary to be provided to each and every human beings. These rights are non-transferable, which means inalienable rights. These rights are covered by our Indian Constitution under the heading of Fundamental Rights contained under Part 3 of the Constitution. Dear friends, these bare minimum basic inalienable human rights are all the fundamental rights like right to equality, right to life, right to personal liberties, and all the fundamental rights prescribed under Part 3 of the Constitution. Dear friends, while discussing the provision of Article 21 which prescribes the right to life, that is interpreted by the Supreme Court of India with reference to this international perception. Friends, this Supreme Court of India interpreted right to life includes right to live life healthy, right to live life in healthy environment, right to live life in pollution free environment. This particular right of healthy environment or pollution free environment, this particular environment should be provided by state to its subject. If it is discussed with reference to Constitution, here subject means the citizens and state means the nation. So it is the duty of a state to provide healthy environment, pollution free environment to its citizens. The same thing is also discussed in the Stockholm Declaration, which was held on the subject of human environment. Just to take a brief note of this declaration, as this was held in 1972, the then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi also participated in this international convention. And for your information, she delivered the welcome speech of this convention. This convention is also considered as Magna Carta of human environment. If you can see the slide, it is stated that United Nations Conference on Human Environment held at Stockholm prescribes the bare minimum rights, as I have stated earlier. As per Article 1 of this declaration, man bears a solemn responsibility to protect and improve the environment for present and future generations. Dear friend, by this Article 1, the responsibility is put on the shoulder of each and every human being, not only to protect the environment but also to improve the environment. We, if are not able to improve the nature, the environment available in surrounding of us, we should not pollute it. This is the concept, this is the meaning of this first article, that as we means we the human being, men, are the only entity on earth which is using this environment with sense. So we should also, if using this facility given by nature, it is at the same time our duty to improve, to protect this environment given by nature to us. And this is nothing but the basic human right as reflected in United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, which is the base of this concept of environmental law. As per Article 4, heritage of wildlife and its habitat should be safeguarded. Dear friend, the Stockholm Declaration is considered as the Magna Carta of human environment. Dear friend, this Stockholm Declaration prescribes the basic rights as well as the basic duties which should be followed and offered. The right should be offered to the citizen and duties to be fulfilled by the citizen for improvement and protection of environment, not only for themselves, not only for ourselves, but for the future generation also. So the Article 4 speaks about the protection of wildlife and habitat should be safeguarded, which means wildlife should be protected and the surroundings of wildlife should also be protected and improved by men, means us. Pollution of sea should be prevented as per Article 8. State should adopt an integrated and coordinate approach to their development planning. It is by Article 14 the duty of a state to adopt an integrated and coordinated approach towards the development of this environment through the proper planning. This is the provision of Stockholm Declaration, which is the base for the emerge of the environmental law. Dear friend, for your information, as these are the basis of development of environmental law, United Nations Organization, in short it is known as UNO. UNO has also passed the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights in the year of 1976. This is merely because of the Stockholm Declaration, Stockholm Conference held on the subject of human environment in the year of 1972. As the declaration is also passed by UNO and the resolution passed on the day of 5th June 1976, that particular day, precisely 5th June, is declared as World Environment Day. On this day, the World Environment Day, it is the duty of each and every member states of UNO to declare, to apply a policy, a program or anything for the protection and improvement of environmental law. As this particular policy or the ethics or the plan is adopted by India through its Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is also providing some provision for the protection of environment. I should say that Indian Constitution is one of the rare constitution which provides for the rules of environmental protection. This is the reason why the framers of South African Constitution were impressed by these provisions of Indian Constitution relating to the protection of environmental law. They adopted this concept from Indian Constitution directly for their constitution, namely Constitution of South Africa. South African Constitution adopted this environmental protection concept from Indian Constitution, and Indian Constitution provides obligation on state as well as on citizens to protect and improve the environment of the nation. I would like to discuss this third point of obligation on state citizens to protect and improve the environment. As this duty or an obligation is made on state, it is the duty of a state as well as on other hand it is the right of every citizen to have the peaceful, the pollution free environment from the state. So it is on one hand the duty of a state to provide the pollution free environment. It is on other hand the right of a citizen to enjoy the pollution free environment. Merely by stating rights and duties by state to the citizen is not sufficient. State must pass some enactment, some laws for this particular area also. Indian Constitution, due to this provision, the legislature has passed so many legislations for the protection of environment. If I will try to enumerate all the laws, the time will constrain here. So, Air Pollution Preservation Control Act, then Water Pollution and Preservation Act, Wildlife Preservation Act, Forest Act. There are so many acts which are framed and passed by Indian Parliament for this topic of the obligation on state and right of a citizen to improve and to protect the environment. How you can say or how one can say that this is the obligation on state? Dear friend, for this we have legislative powers for enactment of environmental laws. Not directly going to the union list, state list or concurrent list, I would like to discuss some points for this legislative powers concerning environment. As the environment is such a thing or an area which should be protected not for the present time but for the future also, and with reference to also Stockholm Declaration, United Nations Organization Declaration on Human Rights, and as interpreted by the Supreme Court of India while discussing the provision of Article 21, right to life includes right to live life in healthy and pollution free environment. The duty is given to the state to enact law to provide this fundamental right to its citizen, namely Article 21. Merely by stating, legislature cannot enact any law. For that, some source must be provided by Constitution to the legislature for the enactment. As we all are knowing that Indian legal system is considered as quasi-federal legal system. This quasi-federal legal system must contain the characteristic of division of powers. This division of power is enumerated as legislative powers of Parliament, legislative powers of state government, and some topics are also given as on that particular matter both state as well as the center or union can enact law for application of that particular subject. Due to Article 246 of Indian Constitution, we are having Schedule 7 which prescribes 3 lists of the Constitution. As per this Union list, which is known as List 1, there are mainly 5 entries which are enumerated as the entries for environment protection. Entry 52, which prescribes for industries. Entry 53, regulation and development of oil fields and mineral resources. Regulation of mines and mineral development. Then regulation and development of interstate rivers and river valley as per entry number 55, and fishing and fisheries beyond territorial waters. These are the entries contained under Union list known as List 1, on which Union can pass a law for these subjects specifically from entry number 52 to 57. These entries are speaking none other than but the field or topic or area of environment. Industry, as due to industry environment is going to be affected, so it is discussed and interpreted by Supreme Court in the case of Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum, where if the industrialist wants to run an